Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. All right, my friends, happy November. If you're seeing this the day that it goes up. I can't believe we're here already. Just 2 months of the year left. Like, it goes by so fast. It's crazy. I know I say that all the time, but as I was, putting all my wrap-up information here, I'm just like, this is nuts. It's absolutely nuts where we've gotten to. But anyway, if you are new to my monthly wrap-ups, hi, welcome to the channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for caring about what little old me is reading. I hope you are enjoying my content. Make sure you give this a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I put up 4 videos a week. I also have bonus content on my Patreon. I also have channel memberships if you want early access or want to have private chats with me. Definitely check that out. Yeah, I think that's some of the spiel for that. But today we're here to talk about what I read in October. So if you are new to this, as I said, I don't talk about every book I've read in this video. That would be way too long. I do weekly wrap-ups, which the last 2 weeks of October will actually be in the video that you see tomorrow. My weekly wrap-up there will have 2 weeks because I was gone last weekend. But I have a playlist up here, which is getting pretty full because we're getting towards the end, that has every single book that I've read for the year. Good, bad, ugly, new favorites, all of that. And weekly, I wrap that up because I am a full-time booktuber and romance reader, reviewer. So I read about 10 to 15 books a week. Sometimes it's a little less, sometimes it's a little more. And so, yeah, it'd be too much to talk about here. So what this video will be is I will tell you kind of my stats because people like those nerdy things like I do. And then I'm going to talk about the top 5 books that I read in October, give them a little extra love. I also this time around have 2 honorable mentions because it was very difficult to just pick 5. So I have an honorable mention of a couple. And then, yeah, you'll get an idea of what my favorites were. And I'll have links down below to all my favorites. If me talking about it makes you want to give it a try, you can check out my link down below and get yourself a copy of it. Ebook, physical book, whatever you want. And I think that's about it for the intro. Let's get into this here. So for October, I read 37 books, which was 14,350 pages, which is pretty dang good. That's about what my average has been lately. Right around that 14 to 15,000 a month is about what we've been at. The formats of these books were 19 ebooks, 14 physical books, 12 audiobooks, and 18 of those were ARCs. So with ARCs, it kind of overlaps as well. So you'll see if you ever, for some reason, added on my books that they overlap a little bit. But the ratings of these books were, I had 3 6 stars. Now, those 6 stars were all rereads, by the way, just so you know. I didn't have any new 6 stars this month. They were all rereads. 9 5 stars, 3 4.5 stars, 13 4 stars, 5 3.5 stars, 3 3 stars, and 1 DNF. The subgenres of these books were wild. I read in 10 different categories this month, which is crazy. Normally it's like 6 or 7 categories, but we just went for it. So I had 13 contemporary, 10 dark, 1 dystopian, 3 erotic, 2 fantasy, 3 fan fictions, 1 historical, 1 paranormal, 2 suspense, and 1 that was other, aka it wasn't in a romance category. And we'll talk about that one because it was one of my favorites of the month. So that is my stats. I felt really good about that. Looking back at some of the previous months, I had a lot more dark this month. I haven't had that many dark romance in a month in a while, but that's just what I was craving, I guess. It happens. I guess it is October, so there's that. So let's go through. Well, let's start with the honorable mentions. That's what we'll do. I have 2 honorable mentions, as I said. I also gave one of these 5 stars and one was 4.5, but I just wanted to share them because I liked them so much. So One of the books that just really gave me a thrill was Chasing the Wild by Elliot Rose. So since I'm just doing an honorable mention, I'm not going to go into full details about this one, but I did review it in my last weekly wrap up, which I've already linked that playlist up there. But this one is a ex-boyfriend's dad, and through some crazy circumstances, our heroine actually ends up working for our hero and stuck on the mountain with him through the winter. And things get real cozy and spicy in his cabin on the mountain. Like, it's great. And I cannot wait for Braving the Storm to come out. We're supposed to get our arcs this week by Friday, and I'm just over the moon about it. Then another honorable mention, which the series is so, like, it's not even that old, but it's already such a nostalgic series for me. And I did read the final book in it this month. And so this is Beacon by Claire Kent. And this is the beautiful hardcover that Elizabeth actually sent me. So I don't have the regular paperback cover yet. I have this gorgeous one. But this was the last book in the Kindled series. And this one was finally about Mac and Anna. And you'll have to watch my weekly review for how I felt about that. But it was so good to finally get their story. It was a second chance. And all these are dystopian, which I know this cover doesn't really speak dystopian, but I love the hardcovers. I have the hardcovers of the whole series, and they're just beautiful. But I just think she's able to write this scary, dangerous world in such a comforting way. And I'll never understand how she does it. I don't know, but I love it. I'm here for it all the time. Okay, so the top 5 books that I read. So I'm actually starting off with a fan fiction. And if you're watching this on the day it came out, on November 2nd, we've actually just started the fan fiction readathon. So the fan fiction readathon this will be the 3rd time I've done that, and I just really like bringing attention to fan fictions. Now, there are a few changes I've made to how I want to talk about fan fiction that I've been just kind of shared. It's been shared with me by other readers of fan fiction, people who've been in the community longer than me, as well as just some like best practices. And I talk about that in my fan fiction TBR that I filmed. But one of those is I don't want to share like ratings for fan fictions anymore. I am keeping track of that for myself because in my head I still rate things, but I don't want to put ratings out there like on Goodreads. We shouldn't rate them on Goodreads, and I don't want to be posting like it was good or bad, because people who write fan fiction, they're not trying to win awards, they're not trying to sell their work, so they don't have to be perfect at anything. It's more about what they make me feel. And a fan fiction that just blew my mind. It took a long time to read it, by the way. I believe I started it in September, and it took until the beginning of October because it was so much was going on in this story. But this was called This Thing Between Us by Lady Hilder, and it actually was one that I've been watching. So I know that this isn't for everyone. Well, the fiction isn't for everyone, but I don't like to read a fic until it's finished, so this was one that I'd been seeing the artwork and the chapter artwork that the author was commissioning and that they were sharing on their Instagram, which, if I remember, I'll link Lady Hilder in the description so you can go check out what I'm talking about. But this is one of the covers which I have censored Hermione's nips there so that I'm able to show this, but this was some of like the art for it, and I was just, so it finally finished, I believe in like August is when it was done. I don't know, I'd have to check, but I'd been saving it on one of my bookshelves. So on AO3 you can make a bookshelf, you can bookmark fics so that you can come back to them, and I have a whole list of ones that are in progress, and I wait for the green check mark that they're finished, and then I download them. So this one was one that finished, and this is a Dramini that is a enemies to lovers. If you maybe can tell by this piece of artwork, it is a BDSM heavy story, and it's a very slow burn for the romance part of it. Okay, so that's the difference. This is high heat smut a lot of the way through, very like emotional BDSM things. There's also a plot of like there's a secret Death Eater revolution that's trying to happen, or resurgence is maybe better, and Draco actually works for the ministry, and he has a secret job that he's doing, which we do see his point of view often, so we know what that is, but like Hermione doesn't know what it is. He was given a job with the ministry when he got out of Azkaban, and he actually was spoken to by Kingsley, and he's doing specifically some work for Kingsley for this. But anyway, Hermione still has, you know, very bad thoughts about him. She hasn't really evolved in her thinking yet. She still has PTSD from things that happen. It's understandable. And also, Draco doesn't necessarily try to make it easier on her or act apologetic about anything. He's still just kind of like, we were all just trying to get by. So, fuck you. But we also know the inside of Draco, and we do get some parallel story going on where we find out that he was into her since they were young. He just didn't know what to do about it because she was so forbidden for being a Muggle-born or Mudblood or whatever. There was not going to be any way that he could be with her. But he's been pining for a long time, actually. And when these two have a very hot interaction after a work drinks, so everybody's met up for work drinks and she just doesn't want to be around him. They are in an alley and they end up basically fucking against the wall, and it is consensual, but it's also, they're both a little bit drunk and she's kind of telling him to take it. So it's a consensual non-consent scene is what we have going on right there, but it ignites something in her and she very much wants to run from it. But Draco, he's aware of what this is and what the connection is and how it could be amazing for both of them. And so he does the contract route, and he's like, what if we can find a way that we can both get what we need? You can submit to me, I'll dominate you, you'll have a chance to have your mind be free, and we can explore all of this. And it'll just be when you're at my place or I come to your place, that's the only place we'll do this. So it starts as that. It's a BDSM deal. It's a DNS dynamic that they agree to enter. And then it's a slow burn for the romance because Draco doesn't think he can ever be good enough for her. She doesn't think he would ever want to be with a Mudblood. His dad is still alive, though he's in Azkaban, and there are like rules for being with a Malfoy. Like there's so much that's standing in their way. This is an epic fic, okay? This is over 600,000 words. I was putting together recommendations for the romance readathon, and this is one of the longest ones I've read. It's like the same length as Measure of a Man. This one is huge. But because of like the time and the detail the author put into it, I just couldn't put it down. That's why it took me a long time, because if you've never read Measure of Man, you don't. But 600,000 words is like a series length of books, okay? It is long. But it was so addictive, and I just think that the author really thought about how this was going. So, though I think, sure, there's always things that can be cut when a story is this long, I just loved it so much. So again, though I'm not telling you a ratings for this, the way I plan to talk about fan fictions going forward is, do I recommend it or do I not? And my answer is, I recommend it if you liked any of the things that I said. So I'll have a link down below. One other note though, this fic is so big, you are not going to be able to just send this direct to Kindle if you're using your phone or something, okay? And you can't email this to yourself. So I've talked about it in previous fan fictions, but you're going to need to use Amazon Send to Kindle on the desktop if you want to send yourself this one to Kindle, okay? And you can find out how to do that from somewhere else, but basically you go into Amazon on your desktop and you just type in Send to Kindle in their search bar and it will bring up the page, and then you're going to need to drag and drop the file that you've downloaded from AO3 there to send to you, because it's too big to email it. It's not going to work, okay? So anyway, okay, moving along. There is Secret Love by Willow Astor, and this was just so sweet. Okay, this is the complete opposite of things between us, that's for sure. This is a single dad. He's a football player. He has 3 daughters. He is in a amicable co-parenting with his ex-wife. He is in his mid to late 30s. His football playing days are maybe starting to come to the end. Like, should he leave at his peak? Should he keep playing and doing what he loves, or does he risk his health? There's even a little bit of like concussion syndrome that's brought up a little bit in this. Very interesting. But I read or listened to an arc of this. I actually reviewed I reviewed this book. I interviewed Willow Astor on my channel at the beginning of this month, and I'll put a link to that up here if you want to hear it. It was a bit focused on the audiobook for this. So the audio for this was fantastic, and this story was just so sweet. Okay, so yeah, we have single parent. We also have age gap because our heroine is in her like early 20s. I mean, it's like 12 years, I think, is what it is, because she's 24. She's a new teacher. She starts out as a sub in the beginning of this, and she's actually the teacher for his oldest daughter, who's 13. So yeah, I believe he's 36 and she's 24, or he's 34, 20. Anyway, whatever. They're 12 years apart. He's a dad of 3. And they actually meet each other first at the supermarket when he's there picking up some things for breakfast. And they have a bit of a flirty moment. I can't remember if it's by the cereal or the bagels. And it's just a cute moment. And he's like, wow, I haven't felt like flirting with someone in a long time. And he's whatever. Well, then he hears from his daughter that her English teacher gave her a really bad grade and was very like mean to her. His oldest daughter, we learn that she has possibly dyslexia and some learning issues, and her English teacher was very mean to her. And so our hero is like, oh no, you're not messing with my baby. So he goes storming into school to ream out the English teacher. Only thing is, guess who is subbing for English? Our heroine, who had just had this flirty moment with him. So even as he's reaming her out about how he thinks she treated his daughter, he's thinking, wow, if this lady is a bitchy teacher, then I guess it's good that I found that out now. Whereas our heroine is like, is this the other side of him? Is he really like this hot and cold? And for her, that's a bit of a trigger because she has a father who is manipulative and hot and cold, and she's like, I don't want anything to do with men like this. Plus, he is a student's father, so he's off limits anyway. And so now we've kind of reset everything, and we're in a more like difficult place for these two to get together. But what happens is, number one, he's very apologetic. He goes about kind of groveling a little bit for it. He realizes his mistake. And also she's the one who kind of points out to him and his ex-wife what may be going on with their daughter, and they're both very thankful to hear that. And our heroine actually agrees to part-time tutor this little girl. So now, though, she's coming to their house to tutor sometimes, so we're getting more and more. So anyway, this was a beautiful slow burn between these two. It was so sweet. There's very low angst, besides her being like, this is my teacher's or my student's dad. So there is some of that. But for the most part, it's so cute. Everyone is supportive of their relationship. Everyone thinks they'd be good together. So it's really just a matter of time to take for it. Now, a place where it does maybe wobble a little bit is with what we do with the third act, because it isn't a third act breakup. There's something that has to do with football that happens, and it's a pretty serious thing. And I do think that we maybe got a little bit glib about how we deal with it. But again, this book, it's all about the low angst. It's about the sweetness. It's a single dad. It's him like wooing this girl and kind of healing a bit of her feelings about men as well. It's not like she's a harpy or shrieky or whatever. When you see what her dad's like, and you see how he like, how our hero like yelled at her about things like that, like you understand it. You know, it's not like she's completely wrong to think that. But yeah. So anyway, 5 stars. Loved it. Very sweet. Okay, now we have Just Between Us. So this was funny that 2 of the things I liked this month were This Thing Between Us and Just Between Us. So Just Between Us is by Lena Hendricks, and this one is book 3 in her King family series. And I've just kind of been okay with the first 2 in this series, but I'm on her ARC team, her content creator team, and I was really intrigued by this one for sure, because this one is Royal, and he is a tattoo artist. He is seen as kind of this like big scary guy, but he is a golden retriever man inside so much. He's so soft and fluffy inside and so cute. And he also is a sex worker. He has basically an OF, if you know what that means, like a, you're not supposed to say certain things here, but that's basically what he does for he does these like voice videos, right? So he'll like wear a suit, and he's got the big thick muscular sides, and he's got tattoos all over, and he'll do those things where he's like filming himself like heavy breathing or having like the conversational one. So he never shows his face, but he will like unbutton his like shirt sometimes, and he has tattoos everywhere, okay? Hands, everywhere he has tattoos. So, you know, he would be discernible if someone were to see those, right? But he films these videos, and he at first thought it was silly, but he really likes the attention. And also he does use the money for helping to what's it called? Help himself become more independent from like his family's wealth or whatever is what he's using it for. And there's this one patron of his, as it were, who gives him a hard time all the time. And her username is like Miss Black Cat or something. And it's so cute because she just gives him shit all the time. And he loves how she ribs on him and is like, but girl, you like pay to be here. Like what? And it's great. So then we meet, though, our heroine in the story, and she is, I think she's a lawyer is what she is, but she's been hired to like work with his family. The oldest brother has like hired her. And so she is in this small town, and it's really not her style. And she's very much, as I said, she is a black cat, and she's very like bitchy and standoffish and all these things. But one of her guilty pleasures is one of the guys on this site that she watches his videos, and sometimes he sends her videos just for her, that she just, it's her thing. It's how she unwinds every day. And what should happen, but when she is like, I can't remember how she runs into them. Well, also first our hero like dumps something all over her in the beginning. That doesn't get them off to a great start. He's trying to prank one of the, not the Havens, that's a different series, one of the Sullivan brothers, and he ends up throwing something all over her. So that doesn't get them off to a great start. But later on, I think she's meeting with some of the siblings, or they run into each other, and she sees his tattoos here and his hands, and she's like, shut up. And then she hears him talking, and she's like, oh my God. So something that was then happening in their like online life, so she's figured out who he is, and she's panicked. So she like deletes the app. She's like, oh my God, oh my God. And he actually tries to like video chat this patron of his who he has this kid. He wants to talk to her, and she like declined it. But now like she declined that, and now she knows who he is, so she deletes it. So he's thinking he went way too far. He's being creepy. He's like, well, that's a bummer, but he just loved this connection. But then one of the times he meets up with her, so now she knows who he is. And then they're again interacting, and she says something, and he is like, oh my God, it's you. So then he says something that triggers her that like, oh my God, he knows that I know. So now they know. So this all, I'm saying so many details in this, but all this stuff I said, they find out pretty early on in the book. So like it's hidden identity, but just for a little bit. And then like they know who each other are, and he wants to, I mean, see her more, but he also offers her, he offers to dominate her a little bit. And he's like, I think that you want that. And I think that trying it out with me is a really safe way to do it. He's like, I'm never going to pressure you for this, but like, I want to get with you. And I think you want to be bossed around a little bit and give me some of that burden. And I want to do it. So first she agrees, of course, to a one-time hookup where he does some doming of her, and she melts for it. She loves it. And so she can't get enough. So she's going to ask to meet him again. So, and it goes from there. And what I will also say is their relationship is beautiful. Like Royal, the way that he's my favorite hero that I've read by Lena Hendricks. I'm not even kidding. He's that type that, yes, he gives Cassian vibes. Let's just say it. He gives Cassian vibes for real. Like in human form, this man is Cassian. Okay. I'm saying it. I said it. And just the way that he is with her, it's so great. And like, people have never taken him too seriously. He doesn't want to be taken too seriously, but there's a lot of pain in the King family. And some of the things that happen in this book really open up some of those old wounds that we've been seeing and hearing this family have. It's really jacked up family. And there was some amazing revelations and some answers to some serious questions in this one. And I'm so excited for what's next. The next one I believe is gonna be like a surprise. Is the next one gonna be a surprise, baby? I don't know, but I believe it's the oldest brother's next. And I think he has a secret kid. I can't remember where it ended, but I'm very excited for the next one. But I loved this book. It was 5 stars easy. It was so good. If you don't love BDSM, this one isn't over the top with that at all. It's really just him being more bossy in bed and also being like, let me do this for you type of thing. But yet he's so gentle and sweet in when he's not being dom. So he's definitely like, just care is what he wants to do. He wants to be like a caretaker, but he'll also force you to let him care for you type of thing. Loved it. Okay, now the one that isn't a romance, but again makes it to the top of my list this month is Jade War by Fonda Lee. Yes, I won't go into too much detail about this series. Jade City, I loved last month. I loved Jade War this month. Probably love Jade Legacy in November. I already bought a copy of it, and I'm going to get the Audible credit as soon as my next credit comes in. But this series is truly epic. It is a fantasy mafia style, Asian inspired. There's magic involved. There's lots of politics involved. There's just political maneuverings, and oh, it's just too much to explain. But this series is so gripping. It sucked me in right away. And one of the things I find interesting, I'll explain this part of it, because I was talking with both Crystal, who she's the reason that I read this, of course. Hey, big sis, if you're watching this. But my friend Joe is reading the series as well. And one of the things I brought up to them is that I usually need first-person point of view to care about characters this much. Okay? Because I want to see their thought processes and love them from like the inside out. And this series isn't that. Like, this is third person point of view. We have actually a lot of different point of views, both characters that I love and characters that I don't. And the way that the story evolves can be very like abrupt. But yet through it all, through Jade City and Jade War, Fonda Lee has made me care so deeply for this family. And what the Call family is trying to do in KCON, and there's children there now, and there's power dynamics, and there's betrayal and heartbreak, and there was a certain death that almost happens at the end of this book, and I closed the book, stopped my audiobook, and I messaged my friends, and I was like, if this is really happening, I don't think I can go on. And I'm not even being dramatic with you. The author knows what she was doing, because I didn't even realize how much I loved a certain character until the possibility of them being gone was put in front of me, and my body revolted against it, okay? And I'm not saying that's never happened before. It absolutely does happen. It's why I read romance, because I am easily triggered by those things. I don't care what that says about me. I don't want to read other genres where I have to worry about this. It's why I always say I read 1 to 2 non-romance a year. If they're going to be fantasy, I need the romance at the end. I need it to be romantasy. I need it to be sci-fi romance. I need the romance, and I don't care. That is who I am. I say it loud and proud. If I don't have it, I can't take it. And I don't want to, because reading is my escapism. And if people are going to die like they die in real life, I don't want to read it, okay? So, all of that being said, when I got to that scenario that's playing out, and if you've read this, you know, don't spoil it for anyone down below, but I just was faced with the fact that, like, you love these characters. I'm not just reading this for the entertainment or just reading it to discuss it with my friends. Like, I would be crushed if a thing happened. And I was still crushed by what went down, but I at least was like, okay, I can read another day. But I'm terrified of Jade Legacy, which not only is like this much bigger than this one, but I've seen the reviews of people just saying devastation all the way on Goodreads. So I'm like, oh, I was devastated enough in this one. So, okay. The last one I want to mention was Ruin by Jillian Eliza West. I was lucky enough to get a beautiful signed arc from the Nerd Fam and Jillian. So thank you so much for the gift. I appreciate it. Oh, I love the bookmarks that Nerd Fam does. So Jillian Eliza West, as I have shared many, many times, and I will continue to, she started as a fanfic author, and one of her fanfics was one of my favorite reads last year, which was In Silence and Submission. So I was so excited to start supporting her as a paid author, as an author with her books on Amazon, and Ruin was a great place to start. So this is book 1 in the Infernus duology, and it is, in my opinion, a type of Hades and Persephone retelling. We have these 2 kingdoms that sit side by side. We'll just do it. We got time. Look at this beautiful map we got in here. We have Infernus and Etheria, and there's like the kingdom of the light and the kingdom of like death, or where you go afterwards. And we have our heroine named Aurelia, and she is cursed with a touch of death, but she actually lives in the, as I call it, like the kingdom of the living or whatever. But if anyone she touches with her bare hand, they immediately turn to ash and die. And this power, their curse, was sadly discovered when she was a child, and she killed her nursemaid by that. And it took a few more deaths before the king that she is currently living with, King Typhon, for him to, and he's her adopted father, for him to realize what was happening. And so now she's been sequestered away for 245 years, because these are immortal beings. And she's never had any touch or any, you know, comfort as a child since then. She's just been seen as very dangerous and someone to fear. And that would be such a cold, lonely life. Like, just, I can't even imagine. And early on in this, her power is let loose in a really dangerous way. And so she goes on the run. She makes an escape. And the King Renwick, who is the king of Infernus, he sees her running for it, and he helps her escape into Infernus. And now that she's there, well, he's not just going to let her go back. Not only because he's like, you realize that you just killed someone there, he's going to tighten the reins on you even more than it was before. And he also starts trying to teach her about what her power can do, and that it maybe isn't the curse that she thinks it is, and also the truth about her parentage and what her magic can do, and also showing her what the land of the dead really is about, and that it isn't just this horrible and cruel place, and the people, the beings there, the gods that make their home there, they actually all love Renwick. And there's much more to the rivalry between Renwick and Typhon than Aurelia knows. She's only heard one side of it for all this time, and as we start unraveling it, we're going to find out some crazy things. So this was really beautiful. It's a slow burn between them. There's also this tiny little part that her touch can't kill Renwick because he's dead. Like, he's the king of the dead, basically. So there is a very powerful scene very early on where, when she's trying to like get away from him, that she touches him thinking that she can kill him, and he just looks at her and is like, you can't kill what's already dead. But in that moment of her, you know, feeling failure that she wasn't able to kill him, she realizes she can touch him, and she's never been able to touch anyone. So there is great possibility in that as well. So this was wonderful. I gave this 5 stars. I can't wait for what comes next. This also gives, I know everyone says this, okay, I'm sorry. I know everyone says this, but this also gave Akamath vibes a lot. I know, I'm sorry. But in saying that, it's also the like Hades and Persephone parts. It has the parts of the like, you've been told one thing about this man of darkness, that he must be evil, when really he has a crew of people that are trying to do good, and, you know, she's going to fall in love with him. And then the end of this book, which does have a bit of a cliffhanger, now Aurelia feels like she has more of the whole picture, and maybe the way Typhon is doing things isn't good. So I highly recommend you read this. The cliffhanger isn't so bad that you'll like die waiting for more. And I really want you guys to support this new author. So even if you're like not quite ready to read it because you want to know when the next book is coming, please go and snag a copy of this. Because this is an author that I think is going to do such amazing things with her stories. So yeah, this was one of my favorites of the month. So there y'all go. Those are my stats and my favorite reads, along with some honorable mentions from this month. November, the first half of the month, is going to be fan fiction. Don't worry. That won't be the only thing I'm reading. I still have other obligations, so definitely still check out my weekly wrap-ups, including, as I said, the one coming tomorrow, because that has the last 2 weeks of October, and I got through some doozies for sure. There's some great ones to talk about there. But anywho, that is everything for me today. Check out the links down below to the books I mentioned if you want to support the authors and support little old me. I also have links to my, here's all my cute still October-y designs from my Etsy shop, which is great. And there's also links for discounts from, let's say, like Nerdy Dunce or Ginger Snap Bookish Co., different places that I'm ambassadors and reps for. So thank you so much for watching, my friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye.